welcome to the next Word of the Week. Today we have a lot of special guests. I'm actually going to have them introduce themselves, but if you guys haven't known who I am, my name is Kayla, and we are going to introduce ourselves right now. Here, let's start with you.
Okay, hi, I'm Ying. I'm Pastor Evan's wife. We're at Home Church OC.
Hi, I'm Jenney. I'm Pastor Bumble's wife, and we are at Redemption Point Church.
Hi, I'm Trisha. I am Pastor Tony's wife. We are at True Love Community.
That was fun. So, as you guys can tell, it is a pastor's wife panel that we're going to have today. I'm so excited that you guys are all here. I just have one question first, just to break the ice. What is your reaction to the word or the phrase "bamopso" and why? How do you react? I don't know. Bamopso?
Huh. What an honor. No, just kidding. What do you mean?
I react to that very negatively.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, because growing up, I do not like to be a pastor's wife, or especially somebody call me bambusu. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I married my husband, I would not want that title.
Really?
Would not. Yeah.
What does that title mean to you?
It doesn't mean anything, actually, because my husband is a pastor and I'm his wife. So he's a pastor. I just happen to be pastor's wife, but people sometimes put that title so high up that, hey, just like I'm a pastor, but I'm not a pastor. I'm just his wife. Whether he's a pastor or not a pastor, I'm also his wife.
Oh.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of connotation to words, and especially that one. That one's packed. Mm-hmm. Like, you hear bamoksu and you think like, oh, she must know the Bible back to, front to back, and, do children's ministry and sing in the choir and do this and do that. Like, there's all these, like, expectations. And so in that sense, it's like a really packed word. I mean, I don't know about other communities, but I feel like in my circle of pastors' wives that I know, like, it's kind of a new generation of pastors' wives in terms of, like, yeah, we're married to our husbands and they are pastors, and of course we're supportive and we do things with them. They practice preaching to us. That's part of it, but I feel like we've allowed ourselves a little bit more freedom to just be and have our own identities too, and not just have to conform to these ideas of what it means, like, oh, bamoksu, like, oh, you're so holy or something. Like, no, just a person.
I think add, it was direct translation bad just means, like, as you're addressing an older adult figure, even if we say, okay, we can argue and say, like, we're young, and all the other pastors' wives that we know are very young at heart too, so it's just, with that being said, like, there are expectations of wisdom and stuff that you might not feel like is like the right word, or even if you go to your doctor and you call, like, baksai, right, like an old, it's like adult older person, but you can have younger doctors too,
You're like both. That's interesting. I don't know, I would love to be called babopsu, like, that's right, but then again, that's probably why I'm not a babopsu. I'm just kidding. Well, speaking of that, saying how you guys are you just happen to be married to a person that is a pastor. You're not like a bamopsu. How did you become a bamopsu or become a pastor's wife? Like, is it like you dated him knowing that he was going to become a pastor, or did he kind of drop it on you during your marriage?
For me, so when I dated Tony, he was already serving as a youth pastor, and so knowing that when we were engaged, he was actually in seminary for his master of theology. So I knew I was going to marry a pastor, but with that being said, explaining that to my family was a little different story as well. But,
what do you mean? Like, how was that?
Well, I guess because I come from, like, a non-believing family, so the idea of, like, your husband is in graduate school getting a master's in seminary, but what is he going to do? He's going to preach the Bible to us too? They're kind of awkward.
Oh, I see.
For me, I mean, I feel like looking back, I see God working in both of our lives and bringing us, to where we are now in ministry. But when we were dating and when we first got married, no, pastor was not a title that he had. When we first dated, he was a film major. We were going to be in Hollywood, and he was going to write scripts and direct and produce, and, we're going to have this fabulous life in Hollywood. But as time went on, God was just showing us different things, and God was calling. And for us, it was one of those like, oh, do we want to do this? But when God calls, you answer. You can't really say no, because if you're refusing God's call, then you're going off the path, and that's not a good path to be on anyways. It won't be enjoyable anyways.
Yeah, for me, I didn't marry a pastor. And when we were dating, we were helping out with youth in church. So all those years, and then we got married, and we were still doing high school and college group up until a certain time. And then he said that, hey, I think I'm going to go to seminary, and we need to take the next step, and I need to be equipped for that. So, being a wife, what can you say, right? You are his helper. So I say, okay, you can start with schooling and all that stuff. So we actually all throughout the dating years and marry, and he didn't officially become a pastor until 11 years ago. But all those through the 29 years of our marriage, we've been always serving with the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. So, with that said, do you think that being a pastor's wife is actually a gift or a curse? And also, do you think that being a pastor's wife is actually a calling?
I think it's definitely a calling. Just in life, all throughout life, God equips you. God gives you the things that you need to complete the task that God gives you. So in that way, yes, it is a calling. God gives us specific traits, specific things that we like or don't like, or he equips us. And whether it's a curse or a gift, I think it's definitely a gift. Because the word curse, I'm just like, that's something that someone wants bad things for you is going to like put on you, and I know God doesn't want to put bad things on us. So I'm really like, I can't say it's a curse whatsoever. It's hard, following Jesus is never easy, and it's hard because God shows you a little bit, at a time, and he says, just trust me, follow me. It's hard to do that. But I feel like when we're not following God, then life is like a zillion times harder than when we're just obeying.
So I think being a pastor's wife is like Ying and Jenney said, it is like it's not a curse, but in the sense is the reason it can be seen as a gift, it's because, we're the road to being called to be a wife of someone is a gift, so like marriage itself is hard, but now just having that title, okay, now I'm married to this specific person who serves in a ministry or something, then if my identity was being a pastor's wife, then it might be a curse in that sense. Like there's so much expectation that I might not be able to live up to, but being called to be someone's wife and love him just like God loved us, that is the gift, right?
To me, I have a different view from Ying, because I don't think being a pastor's wife is a calling. I think being a wife is a calling, because in Genesis 2:18, God did say that we are the helper to our husband. So whether he's a pastor or not a pastor, I need to be his helper in whatever he does. And you put the question as a gift or a curse, but I would rephrase that question as it comes with blessing and challenges. The blessing we have is being a pastor's wife or pastor's family, you get blessing from other people in the church praying for you. More people praying for your family than anybody else.
Yeah.
And also the blessing of walking alongside with the people in your congregation, seeing how they grow and doing life with them. And you get to be more close with those people who, when they have problem, they come directly to you, and you see how the marriages gets restored and broken family get restored and things like that. But it also comes with challenges like people expect a lot from a pastor's wife. Because we serve different people, so everybody have different expectation, and sometimes it put us in a very difficult position, and sometimes it become, people could criticize us to the point that we couldn't even handle it. But sometimes those criticisms help you to be humble, to examine yourself, to know where you are with God, and then it's also draw you more closer to God. And I think that that's really helpful for me in my life, because we've been doing serving for so many years, and we started planning the church like almost 11 years ago, and there's a lot of up and down. There's many blessings, there's also many painful story, but I think God is the one who holds everything together.
Wow, that's powerful. Well, actually, speaking of that, like, was there ever a time that you actually had a season where you resented the church in any way? And just hearing what you said, like, it was just so much. Was there a season when you resented the church?
I don't. If you're saying the church, you saying the people, or you saying the church itself? Because I don't resent the people, because we know that the people are people of God, whether we are a sinner and we all need God. But growing up, because I grew up in a Christian family, in a Christian environment, so growing up I resented the church system itself, the legalistic, the legalism, like where you come to church and all you hear is, hey, if you do something wrong, God's going to punish you. I didn't hear about grace in church, nothing about grace at all, but everything is punishment. So unless you live a righteous life, God's not going to love you. So growing up, especially in, I wouldn't say Vietnamese church here, but probably in Vietnam, that, that's what I heard, and I resented it. Looking at even my own family member, I said, I don't want to be a Christian, because I don't see the fruit of spirit in their Christian life, so I resented growing up, and then I understand I resented the legalistic in the church itself. Like, sometimes they look at the outward appearance, but they don't see the fruit of that being established in the people's life. But they look at, if you get a tattoo, they say, oh, that, no, things like that. So that's what I resented, but not the people, because we all come from broken family. We are sinners, so I don't resent the people.
Wow, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Or if you didn't have a time that you actually resented, what actually would make you resent the church?
I think I was thinking more of when, not so much resentment of church, it's just like when I feel down would be when we are serving but we don't see the fruit. But then it's because that's where my heart is not, I'm not patient to see what God is about to reveal to me, so sometimes we can spend a lot of time with people and we don't see that fruit happening in their lives, or we feel like we're repeating ourselves and they're not listening, or they just go and decide to do something else. But it's really okay that it's okay in the sense that, I come back and I look to God for the strength to keep, not saying, okay, this relationship between friends is over because they're not listening, but, keep going back and praying to God that may God, as we plant the seed in their heart, that they will see why we're doing this or why we want to spend time with them, for them to see that, but it's not resentment in the sense of wanting to give up doing church or like giving up on people, because again, I am a sinner just like anyone else, thank God for his grace to come and save me, right? But yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. I think for me, this question, though, it was really difficult to answer because, yeah, like you were saying, let's define, resenting, the word resent, and then define the church. Like, what do we mean by the church? Do we mean the people? Do we mean the system? And yeah, I can see that it would be very easy to be resentful of a system. But yeah, like you said, the people, I'm like, I wouldn't resent the people because we're a community, we're all doing this together. And like, if anything, I love so much being in the community where I have so many people I can call on. Like, I have 3 little kids right now, and there's so many people I can call in, like, hey, can you come tomorrow from this time to this time? Like, I'll be right back. And people show up, and I'm like, I'm so blessed by that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Actually, speaking of kids, you're all moms, and you know what that means. You're raising PKs. So with that, do you guys have the pressure of raising kids because you know what comes with being a pastor's kid, right? Do you have that fear that, okay, what if my kid becomes like a very, goes very far off and is not even a Christian? Do you guys have that fear of that possibility?
I mean, it's always a possibility, right? It's kind of dark to say, like, oh my gosh, maybe my child won't be following God, but it's a possibility, and I feel like as pastoral families, like we pray for our kids. We pray for them a lot. And the rest is in God's hands. We do our best to model what it's like to follow Jesus, because with kids, that's like the number one thing. They don't care what you say. They care what you do.
Yeah.
They care that you follow through with, your promises, and, like if you tell them to do a certain thing, you better do it that way. They're going to catch you real fast. Like, so, yeah, if anything, just pray for them. Yeah, there's not much else we can do.
Well, that question is not fair because my kid is now 21 already. So but actually, we did not want to have any kid because we were working with youth for a long time. And so when we got married, we got married for 7 years. When we first got married, we said, no, we're not going to have kids because we did not, we didn't have enough faith to trust in God that, that we would have a kid. That could we see so many broken family, and so we worry so much. But I don't know, somehow God's grace that we decided to just have one. And it's good that it helps us to be humble, because so we don't criticize other parents that, hey, you don't know how to teach your kids or something. But it humble us and also show us a lot of love, help us to be more generous, because since we have only one kid, so we need Timmy to have more friends. So we open our home for other people to come in, so that we can see not only he have more friends, but that we can do lives with other people, so that he can see how we do lives with other people, see how he can see the ministry that we're doing. And so that's also a blessing of being a PK, because it blossomed from the kids seeing how the parents doing the ministry, and it's a blessing for that. For my son especially, that he see how we do the ministry, and usually we talk about it, and he always say that he very appreciated of the way how we bring other people in our lives and how we love other people, and I think it's a blessing.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I think it's like a huge fear in my heart if my sons didn't believe in Jesus. But But that is, again, only in God's control. But raising kids and, like, you know, doing ministry and welcoming people into our lives, they see a lot of brokenness too. But they get to see the restoration in that, or, you know, the blessings in that. So again, our thing is, you know, we're blessed to be a blessing, and I hope our kids will continue to see that, even if they feel like we're dividing our time between them and serving, or, you know, just doing ministry with other groups of people. But if we allow that space for them to be a part of that ministry, then hopefully they find fruit in that themselves too, and grow closer to God through it.
Do you actually see that happening, where your kids are seeing that, oh, why is mommy and daddy always out with other people? Or do you compromise it in some way with your ministry?
Time management is huge. Yeah. Like that's one of the things in our family. Like, we make a point to have family day. We make a point to have time with each individual child, and not putting, you know, not making them feel ignored. Because, yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like most other people that we interact with, like, no matter what crisis they were in, that God is going to take care of them. Things are going to be solved, you know. But if we're not there for our own child in their moment, you know, whether it's, you know, a very big life-altering thing, or whether it's, you know, they lost a toy, if we're not there for them in those moments, they're going to remember, you know. So that's where we're like, no, this is important. We're going to be here. We're going to stick together. And yes, we have ministry things that we have to be gone for, but we make sure that we have time together as a family. And honestly, most of the time, like, this is actually kind of a rare occasion where I'm here and there's no husband and no kids. Most of the time, like, you know, one of us does something, we all go. And I think that helps a lot too.
Well, I think something that came up was, you know, you guys just seem to be, like, taking care of everything. Like, you know, helping the husband and also taking care of the kids. Is there anything that you think that your husband should be more attentive to for you and taking care of you?
Evan takes great care of me.
Wow.
Just saying that for the record.
Oh, me too.
No, I mean, I'm kind of joking, but honestly, he does. And just a little background. Like, I've been in midwifery school the last several years. So he's been at home cooking, cleaning, children, and doing everything for me because I've been busy with school and I was working. So he was literally doing everything. So really, like, in my corner, like, I can't complain. I really can't. Now I'm home more and we're kind of redistributing the work. But still, like, I feel like one of the things in marriage, like, being married to someone who's following Jesus, I have more comfort in that, you know, knowing that his heart is after God, and he's not going to cast me aside or throw me aside for something else. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, no, you're making a lot of sense, and I'm really glad. You know, we know Evan, and you know Evan's great. But you know, I also realize there are some pastors' wives out there that don't have what you have. What, like, some people out there might have a husband that's like, oh, I just planted a church, I need to put all my attention and energy into that, and sometimes they neglect their family. Do you have any advice for those pastors' wives that feel neglected?
Communication. You know, I feel like in marriage that's huge. Like, a lot of the things comes down to communication, communicating expectations, communicating needs, communicating what, you know, hurts, all those things. So a lot of communication, a lot of prayer, so much prayer. And honestly, a lot of the times it's spiritual attack too. You know, yes. Like, as a pastoral family, we're doing things in the kingdom. We're sharing Jesus, and, you know, we're discipling, we're doing all these things, and the enemy's going to attack. And a very, very easy thing to attack is our marriages. So when we're feeling like, oh, I'm doing so much, he's not doing it, like, I feel like in any family, we always can feel like I'm doing more, you know, no matter who you are. So just, I mean, a lot of prayer, a lot of communication, and practically what really helps us is scheduling that time. Like Evan schedules a Sabbath, and he schedules time with me. So that way we're not, you know, our time together is not lost, and we're, no matter how busy the week is, we have that time slot together. Yeah. And, you know, even if it's not this week, we get to it next week.
Yeah, like Ying said, communication is very important. Expectation, listing what you need as a wife. Like, you know, there are schedules, when days or weeks where things will be very busy doing ministry, but ideally making sure, like, at the end of the day, like, husband checks in or wife checks in and says, you know, is there anything I can do for you tomorrow? So Tony does that a lot for me, and that helps, like, whether it's just easily just, you know, taking out the trash or helping make sure, you know, dropping off one of the kids, you know, like, at least I communicate that. But it's very straightforward, but again, it can be misunderstood, or expectations may not be met if I don't say it, right? But I think in terms of more attentive, I think sometimes there could be, like, you know, times when I want, you know, to have dinner where, you know, just that time when I can set out dinner, not necessarily a fancy date or anything, just like dinner at the table where, you know, husband and wife were checking on each other, asking how we're doing. Because technically, as a pastor, you can call your pastor and say, I need to talk to you, and the pastor can set up like a 2-hour window to talk to somebody. But then when you're at home and you're tired, you just do dinner, and okay, maybe I'll even watch TV, which is good because we're comfortable with each other, where we can sit in quietness, and it's nice to enjoy that peaceful moment too. But again, there are days when it's like, okay, well, I need that time for my husband too, you know. But I think having my husband checking up on me too, like my spiritual walk, like, hey, how are you doing? Are you, you know, is there anything that's been a burden to you doing ministry, or is there, you know, how is your walk with God this week? Or is there any God sightings? You know, are you growing in God? You know, are you reading your Bible? Like, if you could ask that to any of your church ministry, you could ask that to your wife, but, you know, making sure that the wife doesn't feel judged when you're asking, you know, because then that could be trouble. But yeah.
Well, my story is different because both of us working full time, and he also pastored the church full time. So we very, very busy. But the blessing that we have is we carpool to work every day. So half an hour in the morning and half an hour going home, we have those time that we can spend with each other, communicate everything, talk about ministry, anything in the family. And I wish he's like Evan, that you know, wash the dishes, clean the house. No, but Bumbo doesn't do any of that, because not because he doesn't want to help me, but he's very, very busy, very like very busy. So usually when Timmy was younger and he had a volleyball club and he have games, so I have to put everything on his calendar. So make sure that he have those times set aside, so that we never miss any of his game. We never, you know, have him miss any practice. We took him everywhere, even out of state to go for competition, tournament, things like that. I think to be attentive, I think I want my husband to be more attentive to God, because whether he's a pastor or not a pastor, a businessman or a pastor, your first priority is to be attentive to God, because, you know, our human beings, we usually have a lot of idols. If you are a businessman, your idol is success, career, money, all those things. The same as pastor could be your ministry. Try to please other people and try to fulfill expectations of other people. So I think if you are not have your priorities straight up, attentive to God, then everything else will fall apart. Your family, your kid, your wife, everything. And it not only that, but your soul is gone too. Yeah, so
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, great advice, everyone. I'm actually really blessed hearing everyone kind of like just sharing about. Well, actually, then for you, what would you want Pastor Bumble to be more attentive to?
Like God.
Oh God, that's right. Okay.
No, he of course me, but he's a very good husband. Even though he's very busy, but very, very good husband. He always, whatever I need, anything, he would set aside his time and sit down and we talk. And I would say our marriage is very, very good, even though we're very busy. But like I said, we have those times that our communication never broken. So we always talk about everything. So we share about everything. So it's very good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks for sharing. I just feel like everyone's like talking really good because you know that like your husband's gonna be watching this video.
Well, this is what I was thinking about too, like on the way here. Like, yes, there are challenges. Like we all know there's challenges to this role in this lifestyle, being in a pastoral family. But I feel like one of the pastor's wife set aside. One of the things in marriages is you don't complain about your spouse to other people, let alone on something that's going to be open for everybody to see.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we're sharing more of how things are going well. And yeah, there are struggles, but like we get through it with like communication, with prayer. Like there was a time when I thought prayer, like it only can do so much, but honestly, like now that we are planting a church, I see so much how prayer changes things, and how for our lives and our families and our relationships, it's just so incredibly important to pray about everything. And I don't know, I guess it just seems like the pastor's wife and like churchy answer, but really that's what it comes down to, you know? Like you gotta spend time with God and focus on that and get our identities from God, from following Jesus, not from being a pastor's wife or a wife or, whatever. So if I could give any advice, ladies, if you want a solid husband, you find someone who's following Jesus, like legit following Jesus. You'll be golden.
I want to piggyback on what you say about identity, because I did ask the question earlier about what advice we give to the pastor's wife who feel being neglected. And I think if you have your identity in Christ, I mean, if you're a pastor's wife, you know that you're going to share your husband with somebody else, with the church. There's a lot of demand, a lot of need out there that he's going to share himself with other people. So if you are the wife that constantly wanting your husband to be attentive to your needs, he will fail you, because he will not be there to attentive to all the needs that you want. You have to somehow find your identity in God, and in reverse, you somehow have to be able to help him, and two of you guys are going to serve together all the needs out there, not that he only exists to serve you. So you need to understand that. So for anybody who's going to marry a pastor, keep that in mind, because you're going to share your husband with many other people.
It's great. You, Trisha?
Well, I think to add to their Jenney and Ing's talk, where we said, like, as the pastor's wife, we rely on the community to pray for us as, the pastoral family. So that being said too, like when things are not going as we hope, or not, being just when things get hard, whether it's with family or with ministry, like we as a couple can seek prayer from people we trust, like where we're sharing, where it doesn't sound like we're gossiping or nagging about our spouse or, just our marriage or life, but actually looking to other people we respect, who we know trust God and are praying to God for us, for advice, and that we will listen, you know. And then even then, like for me, for doing life with people, I can come to, I know like there are people I can come to that, you know, I can talk to and know that, you know, they are praying for me and praying for my marriage. And yeah, even if, and then I respect them for calling me out and telling me when I'm wrong as well too, you know. That's part of being community.
Okay, so I just have another question. So with what you know now, what would be some advice that you give your younger self or other ladies who are dating pastors or about to become a pastor's wife?
I would like to share and encourage the pastor's wife who's much younger and who's going to become a pastor's wife. I think being patient and faithful is the main thing that we should push on, because sometimes it's very discouraged. Sometimes you put a lot of time and effort in certain people and certain group, but you don't see the fruit of your labor. And so sometimes it's very discouraged, but I want to encourage to keep pushing, because knowing that our labor will not be in vain, because if we stay faithful, then God is the one who will produce the fruit, not us. So our main thing is to be faithful. Yeah.
So to add to that, actually, you know, when we were saying, you know, the faith, we have to accept the faith as ourselves, you know, like we can't, as a pastor's wife, we can't look for, you know, to our husband for, you know, Bible teaching or knowledge just because he may have gone to more schooling or read more books, you know. But ideally, it's really how you got to spend time with God. You got to grow in your faith in order to be able to do just life in general, right? But then that expectation of you know, the identity of being a pastor's wife doesn't mean that, you know, you are getting all the teaching from your husband, but actually you're making sure that your walk with God is solid and continues to grow in that sense. It's not borrowed faith, Tony says.
I don't know, I'm still learning. I mean, I'm not sure I have any advice that we haven't already shared. But yeah, I mean, having your own identity in Jesus. Because yeah, you're right. Like our husbands, they're pastors, but they're also humans, and they are going to disappoint and they are going to fail us. So yeah. And I like how you were saying, having that expectation that we're not going to have our husbands with us 24/7, and that there are going to be the times when, you know, you want to have dinner together, but guess what? You know, he's going to have a conversation with someone else right now. So that's, sharing our husbands. So that I feel like we just kind of have to be okay with that and pray for them, pray for their conversation, and know that he's doing God's work, like he's following God's call.
You know, this just came up into my head, but some would argue that if you're a pastor, you shouldn't get married. It's one of the verses in the Bible. Do you, you're all a pastor's wife, so I don't know if you would agree with that, but what are your thoughts on that? People saying that, okay, like, you know how the Catholic Church is like, you know, if you're married, you have to be celibate for the rest of your life. But some pastors have wives. Do you think if
one wife? Huh? Some pastors have one wife.
Pastors, should have one wife. Yes, not wives. I agree. But being what do you think about that?
Are you referring to the verse where
Paul said okay,
don't get married if you can help it.
Yeah.
But if your loins are burning, then get married.
Yeah.
Our loins were burning.
Praise God.
It's That's great answer, Dean. Love it. Love the honesty. Well, thank you guys all for sharing everything that you shared today. I've learned a lot. I've learned and really thank you for being honest about, because this is something people don't really talk about often, like being a pastor's wife. Like, when was the last time like you were invited to share about being a pastor's wife, right? But what I've learned today was that, communicate, community, prayer, your walk with God is very important, and your identity is in Christ. And so hopefully people that are out there are listening to this and watching this and being encouraged by it. I know I was, and yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you. And as for everyone else, make sure to subscribe, Word of the Week, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Like what you see? Come check us out on our YouTube channel. We're called to love God, love people, and serve the world. We post regularly every week, Wednesdays and Sundays, 12:30 p.m. for English ministry. Check out our website at www.wearetruelove.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.